Welcome to the Tell Me More podcast presented by Major League Success. And I'm so excited to have Miss Denisa Hiles with us today. Welcome, Denisa. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, we've talked about this for, I don't even know. I feel like a year.
I think we might have put it on the books a couple of times and it didn't happen. So today I was finally like, I have to do this.
Yeah, and quick story, Denise and I met a year ago. We were Facebook friends, social media friends. We're both real estate agents here in the Columbus market, Columbus, Ohio market. And, we're all social media friends. But then we started to build and go on Clubhouse. And we started to build a community together. And, over the last, it's been a year now, really. Over the last year, we've been able to build that friendship and our relationship. And, back then I was kind of doing podcasts here and there, not really consistent with it, and wanted to get on, and I just didn't have time, and yada, yada, yada. So here we are. Today is the day. So thanks for coming on. I always start the Tell Me More podcast. I always go back to the beginning because I feel like a lot of times growing up, our childhood plays a huge impact into our adult life and into our business. So I know you have a story, right? We all have a story. Yours is a little bit more unique than others, but kind of dive into tell us what you can about growing up and your journey.
Oh gosh, where do I start? So I was born in Czech Republic. Then it was Czechoslovakia, and I grew up there. I was raised there until I was almost 18, and that's when I came here. I had a really good childhood. I have a sister and brother. My brother is 13 years younger, and my sister is 4 years older.
Okay.
So, yeah, we had a great childhood. It was different than what it is today. My mom was great. She was always the money maker, the breadwinner, like you guys say here. And I think our story is a little different compared to other people that would come from Europe because we literally had everything that we wanted. My mom always made sure that we were taken care of. Believe it or not, it wasn't as common to have bananas available or watermelons, oranges, apples, certain kind of meats, breads, you name it. It was like, exotic fruit was exotic fruit. So, but we always had everything what we wanted and what we needed. So I can't complain. We spent most of our time outside playing with other kids. It wasn't like here. I can't imagine letting my kid go outside by himself, but that was the norm. We came home, we dropped our bookcases or our book bags on the ground and went outside. And when the time was for dinner, my mom would yell out the window our names and we would go back in,
Yeah.
So I went to school. We walked to school. And
no buses, or you just lived close?
Well, we had buses. That was the main form of traveling. Not many people had cars.
Sure.
So trolleys, buses, and trams is how you would pretty much get anywhere. We did have a car. We ended up having a couple, but we just mostly traveled by buses, to be honest. I think the school was, it wasn't extremely far, but I think it was, a couple of miles to walk. And we walked like we would be walking today. Like what's going on outside? There's no way we would have a snow day in this. Sometimes we had, a foot of snow and school's happening and you guys are walking. So it's great. But yeah, that's about it. We moved a lot. Well, not a lot, but we've moved a couple of times.
Just to different schools or just different houses or
different houses.
Okay.
Yeah, there was, some divorce and circumstances.
Sure.
A lot of people don't know, but at one point in my life, we've actually had 8 snakes, 2 caimans.
What's a caiman?
So it's like well, my son would explain it to you probably perfectly, and I hope he's not going to try to correct me, but it's I think their mouths are a little longer, so it's kind of like an alligator and crocodile.
Okay.
So I think I'm saying it correctly, but it's that type of species.
Huh.
We had 2 of those. We had 3 turtles. We had 4 dogs. And yeah, my snake, Oscar, he was in my room and he was like my dog. He would follow me around and I would take him out, out of his territorium like every day. And that's how they get to know you. They use their tongue to like know who you are. So it's crazy.
Wow.
But
I
not many,
don't I
yeah.
don't do snakes.
Oh, my
No
husband
way.
doesn't either. Yeah. I don't do snakes now either, but it's just, it's crazy. We did have that at one point in our lives.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So growing up, going to school, did you do sports? Like what's kind of what were you into growing up?
Kind of the same way I am now. I'm kind of dabbing a little bit into everything. I
Okay.
haven't quite figured out yet what my calling is yet, but I played piano for a long time. I sang in the choir. I was part of the dance group. I did gymnastics for a little bit. I tried some sports. I was a really good runner, but only short distance. I couldn't do long distance. I got
Sure.
cramps. I was also very good at I'm pretty sure you guys have a name for it, but when you run and then jump in the sand, whatever that's called.
Like long jump?
Yeah, long jump.
Yeah.
I was really good at that too. So I did a little bit of everything, but I think I played piano the longest. And
Okay.
it's kind of a shame because it's not like riding a bike. I haven't played for years. And a couple of years ago, I got a piano, and you literally have to start from the beginning.
Yeah.
It's not like you pick up a bike and you're like, okay, cool, I can do this. I have to learn how to read the notes again. And it's just like getting a first lesson.
No, that's I mean, I knew you had the piano because you just moved recently and we've talked about that,
Mhm.
and that was one of your concerns, but I didn't know that you actually played growing up. And
I
no, that's
did. So
cool.
I'm
That's
starting
cool.
again.
So now you're getting through high school, right? And 18 you says when you came over to the United
Mhm.
States. What was that transition like? And I don't know, because I think you might be the only person I know that came from Europe that I personally know. What was that, and especially at that age, right? Like 18, you grew up, you had all of your friends growing up, and then you came over to the United States. What was that like?
Well, for me, it was horrible. I hated life.
I'm sure.
I hated life, and part of it is also the way it happened. Um, we were, my stepdad and my mom weren't very honest with us at the time, and they came here for an opportunity 6 months prior to me and my sister arriving.
Okay.
And when we came, we were told that, or before we came, we were told that we're just coming here and visit for summer and that we're going to go back and, continue living in Czech. Well, when we arrived, they told us that basically they sold everything and we are not going back. And this is where we're going to live now.
Wow.
Well, let me tell you, it was a culture shock because, I've only heard about America or seen America in the movies, and you see New York, you see California, and you see all the good stuff in the movies. And when we arrived, we flew to Chicago, and then we were in Indianapolis, and it was not a good area. Someone got shot the first day I was here. I mean,
Wow.
it was horrible. I cried for months. I knew a little bit of English, but not much. I had a boyfriend back home. I didn't want to be here. I just felt like, my whole life basically fell apart.
Yeah.
Um, Clearly that has changed with time, but at first it was not a good transition for us. We were in an apartment with other people. It was not a very clean apartment, and I wasn't used to that back in Czech because we had a nice place, we had a little farm, we were pretty well off there, and I couldn't understand why are we here.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the biggest shock for me was how you cannot get anywhere without a vehicle. Everything in Europe was pretty much available to you, walk-in distance, grocery store, bank, post office. It was really easy to get to. That wasn't the case when we came here. I mean, if I wanted to go to Kroger or a grocery store, dry cleaner or whatever, post office, you had to drive everywhere.
Yeah.
And the buses here are very different than what the buses were there like. I've actually still have never been on a bus here in the United States.
I haven't. Well, I mean, if you count Ohio State's bus, but I don't know if you count those buses.
No, I don't think it counts as the best. No.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's crazy. And I kind of like you. I went to 3 different schools growing up, and I can only imagine. I made my last move in school my freshman year of high school. I left and I went from a small school where we had, I don't even know, 50 some kids in a classroom to a school with 270 to me, which was, a huge shock.
Wow.
But I remember back then because I was going into my freshman year and I played a bunch of sports and, I didn't want to leave my friends and, trying to figure out ways of staying back in my hometown when my parents were leaving, right? Like, can I live with my grandparents? Because I wanted the sports. And I can only imagine traveling so many miles, thousands of
Mhm.
miles away. Did you have any communication back and forth? I mean, like, was there any like calling, like long distance calls? Like it was almost just cut dry, or did you have some sort of communication?
We had communication. I mean, it was pricey.
Okay.
You had to get like those cards in a gas station, so we would get those. They
Yeah.
were the international cards, that you would use with landline mostly. Those were the cheapest thing to get if you wanted to make an international call. I don't think then Verizon or any of those phone subscribers had any of those plans like they do now that you can call long distance and have it on your phone.
Yeah.
So we just used those cards, but it was difficult. I mean,
Yeah.
you are over the ocean, miles away. So obviously, my relationship with my boyfriend ended very quickly, but we tried.
I
Uh,
I can only imagine what that was like.
so
You
that
know.
was crazy, but
So you finally get here, right? 18 years old. Did you go to college? Did you just jump into the workforce? Kind of
no,
what
I
was
never went to school here in the
okay?
United States. The only school I went to was Honduras, and that was for real estate school. So I started working right away, and I did housekeeping, and that was interesting. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I'm an open book, so I don't know how much I can share. I'm legal
Any,
now, but I wasn't always legal, if you know what I mean. So, um, there's a certain time that you can stay here. Your visa expires, and then you have to
yeah,
do what you got to do to obtain it and to be able to continue to stay here legally. So I did housekeeping. Not long after, I started waitressing and started bartending in different places, and I basically did that for ever.
hmm. How was so then you're bartending, waitressing, just doing what you can, right? When did you decide real estate? Like when did that come into play for you?
I was getting to the point where things were getting very tough. The hours were getting to me. A lot of my shifts were still night shifts. I was managing a restaurant and a bar for my friends, and I was the last one that would leave. I was in charge of all the paperwork and counting the money,
Yeah.
so I wouldn't get home sometimes until 5 a.m. So it was really tough. And then I only had my daughter Lily, and I feel like just the hours and the stress was getting to me. I wasn't financially satisfied or mentally. I needed more, and I knew that I could do more. So I was already playing with that idea. But honestly, who really put it in my head to think about it seriously was now my husband.
Hmm.
Um, so, and I have my friend Bill has mentioned it a couple of times. He's like, "Well, why don't you try real estate?" And then I'm kind of everything has to be my idea. I'm like, yeah, 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 yeah. So I think I pondered on that thought for about a year, and then I was like, you know what, I'm going to try it. Um, I was kind of forced to quit my other job completely because I had some back issues, and I had some herniated discs and sciatica, and I could not work. It was very, very difficult. And back then, I was the last place I was in Ocean Club. And that's when I already passed the exam. I joined a brokerage, and I was going to do it part time and still work at Ocean Club. And it just didn't work out that way. So I just hit real estate.
Did
full
you
throttle, really.
did did you have any desire or love for real estate, or it was just like, hey, you should probably do this because you have a certain skill set?
Honestly, I am big on connecting. I mean, that's kind of what you have to do in bar business. I mean,
Hmm.
people come and they want to be heard. They want to talk to you and they will tell you their life stories. And, you add alcohol. I mean, they will tell you things that they probably normally wouldn't. So I think that prepared me for real estate, because a lot of times I feel like, we are our clients' therapists, right? They tell us things that depending on how close you become, um, then they share things that they necessarily wouldn't always share with other people.
Yeah,
And, it also depends on the individuals and the connections that you make with them. But so I always knew that I wanted to work with people, but I also knew that I didn't want to go to school for 4 or 5 years. So it was
yeah,
kind of like, okay, what am I going to do? I'm pretty good in sales. I could really, sell anything.
yeah,
And I always treated people with respect, and I always wanted everybody to feel special when they come in. And it doesn't matter if I was working in a biker bar that was a hole in a wall, or if I was working in an ocean club. I wanted people to feel welcome, and I wanted them to feel special, and I wanted them to feel like, they can come back, and I'll be there, and I'll be their ear, and they can have a good time and leave all the worries outside. And then that kind of brought me to real estate. So
did
I said, I'll try it. I went to school and here I am.
did we ever figure out, because I think you work at the Dub Pub?
I did for a little bit. Yeah.
Do you remember what years those were?
Gosh, I hardly remember what was last week,
I can't
honestly.
remember if I can't remember if you were maybe
Okay, let me
working.
think. Let me think. So I was dating Brent, who I'm married to now. And I think we met in 2011. So it would have been around that time.
That's so funny because that's when I would have been going to the Dub Pub for my lunch, because Ryan and I, we worked at Keller Williams Consultants.
That is so funny.
So right around the corner. And 2011, I got married to my first wife, and I joke, 2012, I got divorced from my first wife, and
Wow.
that was where we went. So you probably heard all my worries and struggles back then. We just didn't know it.
I don't know. I feel like I am pretty good at remembering, so I would
Yeah,
maybe it was the one of the other girls that
yeah.
your
I
ear
was
than me.
that
I
that
would
Keno
remember.
that Keno machine took a lot of our money.
Oh, I bet.
That's so funny. That's so funny. So you're tired of the late nights, and it's one of the things, like bartenders, waiters, waitresses. You guys, it's a fairly, I don't want to say a smooth transition into real estate, because it's not, because you have to adjust lifestyle. It's a huge lifestyle change. But you guys already have half of the gift that you need in order to be a great real estate agent. And that is to be able to connect with people,
Yeah.
right? And to make them feel comfortable, to talk to you, to open up to you, and do all of those things. And, we have several of former bartenders and waiters and waitresses on our team. And I tell people, that are thinking about trying to build a team and where to go and find like new agents, I'm like, go talk to bartenders, waitresses, and waitresses,
Mhm.
waiters. And because you guys have that gift of that connection, right? And so you get tired of living that lifestyle, right? Going in, working late, getting home, early in the morning, get into real estate. What was that initial process like? What, did you have any doubters when you first did it? Did you have any supporters? I'm always curious about that, right? Because some people, the doubters give them that fire to go and prove them wrong. And some people, it's no, everyone supported me, and, they were around me, and they made it easier for me. What was that like for you?
So I didn't really ask for other people's opinions or what they thought. I think that like the person that uh, whose whose opinion I value the most is my mom. And I had to learn to be able to separate when sometimes she thinks of how she would do it and how she thinks it would be good for her, opposed to what I think, what's best for me.
Yeah.
She always, if that makes sense. I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm, explaining it correctly, but basically I know she always has the best intention at
Right.
heart. But I can't say that I really had doubters. I actually had people being like, yeah, you can do this. No problem. You got this, go for it. So I don't remember having any haters at all. Of
No,
course, I was nervous, but
sure.
I was more excited than anything else. I
Yeah.
needed the change so bad.
Yeah. It's just like sometimes curious as people transition into the business, right? You're going from a W-2 or a salary job into a 100% commission style work. And, maybe that process was a little bit easier for you. You knew you could always go back and pick up a bar shift or whatnot, or you probably were doing both for a while. So you get licensed, right? What was the first year like? Dive into some of your struggles. What were some of the successes you had? What did that transition's hard for a bartender like you. I know because I've seen people on our team go through it. So
Um, when I started, I joined a brokerage, and I knew that I'm going to need a mentor, and that's why I started where I started and who I chose to start with, because
yeah,
I had a relationship with them from the past. And I just basically, I don't know. I mean, I don't remember really. I was just so excited about
yeah,
starting it. And so I was provided leads, and I was just calling, and it was kind of easy because they were strangers, and I would just call. And, I mean, there were certainly mistakes I made, but I feel like I was always able to play it like they didn't know that I made a mistake.
yeah.
Or if I didn't have a answer to a question that they asked me, I'd probably have given wrong answers,
Oh, sure. We
but
all
they
have.
didn't know it.
We all have.
So maybe later, if they had a conversation with somebody who was a lot more experienced than me, or has been in the business for a long time, and they said, yeah, this realtor told us, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, what? Why would she
Yeah,
say that? So, I always try to act like I know my stuff, because, who wants to do a business with um, somebody that just started? And I feel like that, I think, you know what, maybe that was my struggle, because in this kind of business, you depend on your sphere, you depend on your
yeah,
friends, your family. And I feel like a lot of the people that I thought that would use me, um, and then they made an indication they would use me, ended up not using me, because I
mm,
feel like they felt I wasn't experienced, or I wouldn't do a good job. Um, so that was my struggle. I'm like, why wouldn't you use me? I have like a full team behind me that will back me up, whatever you need.
yeah,
We got you. And so I've had a couple of those where it really hurt me.
yeah,
And I also, okay, now I think about it, another struggle, I'm very and I had to learn how to just kind of sit back and not react.
yeah,
um, um, think, take a breath, and respond, not react.
yeah,
So that was another thing that I think I struggled with a little bit. And then being depending, even though you are depending on your own um, activities and connecting with people, you are still depending on other people to take you to the finish line, right? With a
yeah,
real estate transaction.
yeah.
So
I'm curious because I talked to some agents about this that are transitioning out of one career and into real estate. Do you think that maybe some of the reason why they didn't use you, the people that you thought, that would be there in your corner, especially in the beginning, right? Like, do you think they thought that you were just Denisa, the bartender, and not Denisa, the real estate agent?
oh, for sure. I mean, do you know how many of those people we used to party with? So they're
Yeah,
thinking like, okay, so now she's in real estate. Like, how much does she really know? Absolutely.
right.
And
Yeah,
that's what I struggled with, for sure.
yeah. And I try to tell agents that are making that transition, they only, your sphere of influence only sees you at what you were doing, right? And you have to do a great job of letting them know, yes, this is what I was doing, but this is where I'm going, and this is what I'm going to be doing, right? And so that's, let them know that you are a real estate agent. Like, you said, hey, I have a mentor, right? I have a team, right? I may not know everything, but if I don't know it, they do, right? And
I think that's why I found it easier to work with people that were strangers
Mm,
because they didn't know that I just started.
yeah.
They had no clue, right? But the
Yeah.
people that knew me from the bar business and the restaurant business, they knew I just started. And
Yeah.
I knew it's almost like it's going to take time and certain amount of transactions for them to be able to see like, okay, she really's got this. She is good at it. She can do it. It seems like she's successful. And then I feel like the people that know you will give you a chance. Of course, like my mom, I mean, she would, that was no question.
Right.
I would not speak to her if she really, you know, um, we just have that kind of relationship also. So
Yeah.
it's not same
Yeah.
with everybody,
Yeah.
but I found it easier working with the leads that I was provided for sure.
No, that's awesome. Same way, I did the internet leads thing, and that's what helped me. But so what year did you get licensed? What year did you make that move into real estate?
2014.
Okay, 14. So
Mm-hmm.
so now you've been in 8 years,
Mm-hmm.
right? What's that journey been like? Take me up to current day. Were you always on a team the whole 8 years? Did you end up going on your own? Like, kind of walk me through some of those processes of
Sure,
your
sure.
years.
So I started with one person, and we're still wonderful friends.
Yeah.
But I
And
think,
that's awesome, right? Because in our business, sometimes you don't get that, right? Like,
yeah,
you're on a team or whatever, you're working with someone, and then all of a sudden you decide to make a move that you think's better for yourself, and that relationship's just boom, like done, over.
I think I think I was more, there's my cat. If it's not my child, it's my cat. It wasn't her. I feel, excuse me, I think I was still very stubborn,
Hmm.
and she had a certain way that she wanted me to learn real estate and about real estate. And I wasn't really feeling it. So we parted ways business wise, I suppose.
Right, right.
I still stayed at the brokerage, but I went on somebody else's team. And I think because we were, two alpha females, very similar personalities, maybe that was part of the problem too.
Yeah.
I think it would be different today. But, Eric, who I was with, was, I mean, super laid back, just complimented. Like, I was still getting so overworked, everything. I mean, I would call him so many times, like, you will not believe this. And he's like, all right, take a breath, calm down, slow down, slow down. And that's exactly what I needed.
Yeah.
And, that's why I always tell everybody it's so important that you have that person. And he was my person.
Yeah.
I could call him anytime and any time of the day, during a night, text him, and he never judged me. I never felt like any question was stupid. And I know that I've asked questions multiple times because, you close one transaction and then, for months you don't have nothing going on. Then you close another. And I'm like, wait, how do I do this? Do I collect the earnest money, or does it's just so many questions. Like, it takes time for you to get used to the certain process. And it just never made me feel stupid,
Yeah.
and I loved it. I mean, I still until this day call him. Um, when I sat down and looked at my production, and I compared how much he has contributed as far as with the leads, or how many of my transactions were my own referrals or my friends, then I was kind of like, okay, maybe it's time for me to just separate. And I think I was with him though for, I think this is my third year by myself,
Okay.
so I was with him for a while.
Okay.
And it worked great. So
I think there's a key point there, right? Like, you understood your personality, and
I don't,
you're
were you able to hear that in my phone? You weren't able
no,
to hear it? Okay,
no.
sorry. Okay.
You're able to understand your personality, right? And what would work for you and what didn't work for you, right? And it's interesting, the last conference that I just went to, I'll have to figure out the link. I don't remember off the top of my head, but basically you take this like success quiz, and essentially, if you're both visionaries, let's just say it's a partnership and you're both visionaries, and all you think about is the future, and that's what you can think about.
Mm-hmm.
Visionaries eventually will leave a real estate team, right? Because they're always thinking bigger, right?
Right.
And operators. And for you, it was like, hey, I'm this way and the other person was this way and it was this, right? Probably back and forth. Not saying arguing, but just the way to go about things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize that, yeah, I do need someone that's, can kind of absorb some of that, but not necessarily be like, oh, well, Denise is mad at me, or Denise is this or that, or whatever the case may be. And I think that played a I think just that alone probably played a huge impact on your career, just by having the right person around you in the early stages.
100%. I mean, it was definitely detrimental to my business, and still having her support, and
Yeah.
his support, and all of us being friends. It's great. I could not be where I'm at today without them. I think, to have that continuous support is so important.
100%, 100%. I agree with that. And so you mentioned you've been on your own for 3 years. What had you make that decision to leave a team and go out on your own?
I think I always knew that that's what's going to happen and that's what I'm going to do. And it just felt like it was the right time.
Hmm.
Um, I like to push myself, and I when you have that kind of support, I almost feel like I was getting a little lazy with some things,
Okay.
because I would call him and I'd be like, hey, can you do this for me, can you do that for me, can you put this property in the MLS for me, and it's nothing bad. People get assistants, right, to do
Right.
it for
Right.
them, transaction coordinators or admins, but it was more than that. I just felt like he's always there, so I feel like I don't know how to say it right, not that I wasn't.
Not that you weren't taking advantage of it, but it was just convenient, right? It was
It
probably
was
convenient.
Yes, it was convenient, and I feel like I wasn't learning as much as I needed to or should have known about certain things.
Mm,
And I also felt like I am not going to learn everything until I'm on my own, because then, I'm not going to always have him to call him, right? I mean, obviously he had incentive, we had a split, so I didn't feel bad about blowing his phone up 24/7. Now when I'm on
right.
my own, he's like, okay, I mean, he still will help me no matter what time I
Yeah.
call him, but I couldn't do it as often, so I had to really really learn about what title insurance means and what different financing is there, because I basically just called him for everything.
Yeah. Yeah. That safety net, right?
Yes, and it's
That
important to
safety
know
net.
all those things.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've been doing on your own 3 years now.
Hmm.
Fast forward to today, right? Now I want to kind of start thinking about kind of what the things that you want to accomplish. What's something that you're looking to accomplish here in the next 12 months?
So
Personal and or business. To me, it doesn't matter.
um, there's some debt I'd like to get rid of. There is a certain amount I have in mind that I would like to be able to invest.
Mm.
I would like to have some real estate. We have our home and we have a condo in Grove City that we rent out, but I would like to add to it.
Have you
And
looked into? Are you thinking more long term flips, or are you looking? I'm getting into the Airbnbs. I'm looking at
I
those.
I think that I really was so sure that it will be just flipping.
Yeah.
And now, considering, everything that's happening in the market, I think it's going to be more of a Airbnb and renting properties out
Yeah.
and holding them.
Yeah.
Um, I have a certain number in mind of, how many volume I would like to do by end of the year. And, to be honest with you, I started real estate in 2014, and then my son was born in 2015.
Hmm.
So we made a conscious decision with my husband that I'm going to be stay-at-home mom first and foremost, and then I'm going to be selling real estate. He is starting first grade in fall, And that's when I'm like, okay, now I'm really going to be able to hit it. It's
Yeah.
very difficult. Even though he's not an only child, my daughter doesn't live with us anymore. So it's like having an only child.
Right.
And, he's very demanding and constantly needs attention. So it's hard to get anything done. And, I think I've been doing okay for being stay-at-home mom. But I would like to obviously up that. Financial freedom is the ultimate goal. So I can spend more time with my family. We can travel and we can do things that we want to do.
Yeah.
It's not, for me, it's not to work harder.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I read an article in a magazine, not even a couple months ago, and people talk about the financial freedom, and this lady broke it down, and it's stuck with me since. It's when people say they want wealth or whatever, what we really want as humans is we want peace, right? We want to know that everything's going to be okay. So I'm right there with you, right? Like I want to know that everything's going to be okay, and travel and do those things. Now I'm excited for you because I know that's a goal of yours, right? To
Yes.
get back in and really go after, focus, and
Yes.
crush
And it
your
starts with the
business.
mindset. Yes. And it
Yeah.
starts with the mindset. So, being content and having a peace of mind, it's, I think, detrimental to being successful. I think that you have to be grateful every single day and feel blessed for what you have. I am very grateful for my family and my friends and the support that I've had, for the group that we have in Clubhouse. But it all starts with us. I feel like for decades, I was always searching for all the answers on the outside, asking people and, several different people I looked up to, or therapists, or, whoever.
Yeah.
And then just to find out that really we hold all the answers, but we forget to take care of ourselves in the process of, living life and trying to provide for the family. And we stop taking care of ourselves. We stop taking time for ourselves. And that is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Because the peace never came from the exterior. There's always going to be things that we're not going to be able to control, regardless of, what decade we're living in, no matter where we live in the world. It doesn't matter. There's always going to be things that we can control. It's how we respond to them and how we take care of ourselves. And the more we take care of ourselves and our peace of mind, that's how, we can better respond to the exterior.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I like to say, be selfish to be selfless, right? Folk, and I've heard that said several different ways. Gary Vee said, if you can't make yourself happy, how are you supposed to make other people happy?
Yeah.
Right. Or if you're not happy, how can you make other people happy?
I always say, if you don't love yourself, how can you love other people?
Yeah.
Fully, right? If you don't take care of yourself, how can you take care of others? How can you be the best version for your family and for your friends?
Yeah.
Or for your clients?
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So we got the 12-month goals, right? 5 years. I don't know if you look that far in the future at all, but any 5-year plans, any 5-year goals for you guys?
Well, we did have one goal with my husband, and we told ourselves that if we have a certain amount of money in the bank in 5 years, we would make a move to Florida.
There you go.
That's one goal that I can think of top of my head, because we literally said 5 years.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. No, that's awesome. Any real estate goals?
I would like to start dabbling a little more into developments. Venture out maybe a little bit out of just retail real estate, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I'll have to connect you with Jennifer McKenna. She has a custom home build. She part owns some of that.
Yeah, that'd
and
be awesome.
maybe be a great resource for you, just to kind of pick her brain on some certain stuff, and start learning and kind of understanding that process. So
yeah, that would be great.
That'll be awesome. And then I can come visit you in Florida, because this time of year I'm always like, why am I still living here?
I know. I'm thinking the same thing. I need sunshine.
I hear you. So with Florida being the big goal, right, for you guys, and that's personal, right? But it also comes back to the business side, right? There's going to be certain things that you're going to have to accomplish on the business side of things to hit that goal. What's one thing do you think you need to add to your business in order to help you hit that goal?
One thing I have to add to my business. I think the biggest thing for me, I feel like now I'm to the point in real estate where the people that wouldn't give me a chance in the beginning are starting to reach out and reconnect, and just really focusing on my sphere and following up and making those calls and really just continue to building the relationships with the people that I already have, and stay connected with the people that I've already, have in my sphere. And then, just implementing the systems. That's one mistake that I did. I really didn't, if I'm being honest here, I really didn't treat real estate as a business. And all of a sudden you find yourself playing catch up with all these things that I need to implement. So I know what I'm doing because I'm growing each year. And now if I really want to hit it hard, then I have to know what I'm doing. I have to know my numbers. I have to
Mhm.
have my CRM in place. I have to have a good website. I have to have good uh, seller's presentation, listing presentation, and buyer's consult. Now I have all that, but it's not where I would like it to be.
Yeah.
It got me by, if that makes sense, until now, and I would like to focus on all of that and take it to the next level.
Yeah, I think, a lot of agents are in that same boat, right? Like get in and, we're just helping our friends, family, whatever, just trying to get by, right? Because real estate's a struggle sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's that roller coaster. It's up and down, up and down. And sometimes you're just flying by the seat of your pants because you're just trying to get something going, right? You're trying to get that momentum back. And I think for you, and for others, it's like just set that time aside each day or every other day or whatever the case may be to work on the business. We always work in the business,
Mm-hmm.
and the agents are notorious for working in the business, and but we always forget about working on the business. And working on the business is going to be the thing that helps you build the business,
Yeah, I think
right?
the thing that I hate about real estate, it's also the thing I love about real estate. And that's, the uncertainty of not knowing what's to come. You
Yeah,
can have, months where you're just not getting business, right?
yeah,
And then you can have a month where you don't know what to do first because you have 5, 10 transactions in contract.
right,
It's
right.
that one phone call. It's like, oh wow, like you had no idea that that person's going to call you and want to list their house or looking for a home. So
Yeah. It's so funny you say that you kind of like that part of the uncertainty. Some people, like I don't, I'm comfortable now with it, right? But in the beginning, I was like, I don't want that. Some
mhm,
people like that, right? It gets them going, right? It's
mhm.
what motivates them. I joke all the time, sometimes good salespeople are always broke because being broke is what keeps them going,
Right, right.
But that's awesome. No, that's awesome. So, Denisa, I always like to end with this one question because I think this is important. And as I have, guests on the show and things like that, everyone always has a different answer for this. But if you could give the audience one piece of advice that you wish you had, whether you were just starting out in real estate or even today, what would that be?
Okay. One advice. I wish that I would have taken Lori's advice and I would have implemented all of the systems right away. I wish she just wouldn't make it an option that it's okay if I don't have those systems implemented and they're not not in place, because I am playing catch up. They're so detrimental to your business and how your business is going to run and how your business is going to look. And um, don't try to reinvent the wheel, I guess, would be my advice.
Mm,
Because I spent a couple of years trying to reinvent the wheel because I was stubborn and I wanted things to do my way, where everything was handed to me and I didn't didn't listen and I didn't follow the advice then. So that would be my advice. Don't try to reinvent the wheel because it's all there.
Yeah. It's such an important message, what you just shared. Those two things, right? Like, the systems are to make your life easier, right? That's the whole idea, is to make your life easier, to make your business more efficient. And, you don't have to go and create the next best thing, right? If someone's doing something that works, find that one thing that's working for someone else that's similar to you and just implement that. So important. So important. Denisa, I appreciate you coming on. Down at the bottom, if you guys are watching the video, you guys have seen, you can connect with her on Instagram. But Denisa, for those that are listening in, what is the best way for someone to reach out to you if they connected with your story anyway and want to talk to you about real estate as far as real estate agent stuff goes, or if someone's a buyer or seller here in the Columbus market and they're looking to buy a home, what is the best way for someone to connect with you?
Best way and quickest way is probably to call me or text me. My number is 614-361-0605. And I can mention that I can speak Polish, Slovak, and Czech. So if there's any clients that don't speak English very well and need a Czech agent, give me a call.
Now I can't just end on that. Have you, because that's just not how this is going to work today, but have you ever gone narrow with those communities?
I haven't.
You should.
I haven't. And
that is your advantage.
I agree, because Lori is, she's Macedonian and she is really big on the Macedonian community, and she gets a lot of business referred that way. So I think you got something there. I think into it.
I think it'll bring back so much joy. I can't speak for you, but I think it would bring back so much joy, right? If you're able to have conversations like that, right? Just your childhood growing up, all of those things. I really do think that is something that you should really explore. And, I know you're all about connecting with people, and what a better way to connect with people through voice and through language.
Sure.
All right, Denisa, I will officially end the show, because I had to help you out on that one. But
I'll let you know how it goes.
I really appreciate your time, and thanks for coming on and sharing your story. And like I said, guys, if you've connected with Denisa in any way, whether it's the real estate agent stuff, or if you're looking to buy or sell real estate here in the Columbus market, give her a call, send her a message, follow her on Instagram. And Denisa, thanks again. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you, John, so much for having me. Have a great day as well.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.